When I was 8 or 9 years old, I'd read all of Ian Fleming's books, so I was heavily into espionage. Well, we don't have 007 anymore, do we? We just have spies on the internet. It's your life. What is freedom? What is liberty? Do you know? Do you know what freedom and liberty is? It's the Magna Carta, almost. But real freedom and liberty goes much further than that. It demands things of the individual as well. And the main thing it really demands, to me anyway, this freedom and liberty, is to do no harm. To do no harm. I mean, what does anybody want to harm anybody else for? What's the point? What is the point of harming anybody? Yet, it seems from, Mr. Obama and Cameron and co, that it's Russia and Putin that's doing all this harm in the Ukraine. But there hasn't been any evidence of it, has there? Now, I'm not saying that Putin is innocent, because he obviously isn't. He is trapped in the system that they want the kids of the planet to inherit. They want the kids to have this system of competition and conflicts all over the planet. That's what they want. There's no obvious, there's no other conclusion that I can come to. And what are they doing? These global leaders, they're actually causing harm to the planet, harm to the people of the planet, and really, like I said, harm to the planet first, because they're doing absolutely nothing to keep this planet sustainable at all. They're just piddling around at the edges of the environmental problem. So therefore they're harming the future, and they want you, the kids of the planet, to inherit the future that they don't give a expletive about. When I was 8 years old, I was totally oblivious. I hadn't got a clue about what was happening in the world. As all, I was off down the local woods where there was a pond, and I used to go and catch sticklebacks there, and that was in a suburb in Birmingham. now there's houses built on the woods where the pond was, and I suppose the local kids have lost that now, haven't they? Completely. What have they got? Computer games. Perhaps they can go fishing with a computer game. When I was 11, I'd read Rider Haggard and been amazed by the heroism of Biggles. But I hadn't got a clue what the 11 plus was. And then they surprised me one day by saying, today is the day you sit your 11 plus. I thought, what's that? So I failed the 11 plus and sank into the depths of the possibility of employment in a factory, or perhaps some sort of shop somewhere. But I still didn't really know anything about the world that was going on around me. I'd been taught in the junior school, 7 to 11-year-olds, that, you know, and in the infants, of course, the bullying was nasty. And nasty people were bullies. Nasty boys and girls were bullies. So that's what I was taught by the time I got to 11. But I hadn't got a clue about the 11 plus. And by the time I got to 16 and done my CSEs, I couldn't give a toss about the way that they were educating me. I've gotten myself a little job doing grocery deliveries with a basket in front of the bike, and guarantee of employment when I left school, even though it was only £5.10 and 6p a week. But the Beatles were around and everything was feeling fine. And I got myself a girlfriend by the time I was 17. But I'd had girlfriends before I was 17. But this one lasted for 5 years and was rather special. Then she broke my heart. When I was 22, 23. And then I met Maggie the wife. But I still haven't got a clue, really, about what's happening in the world. Vietnam was raging, I suppose, 17, when I was 17. And up until the time I was 23, it was raging. But I was wrapped up in the raptures of love. But it didn't really matter much to me. All I really wanted to do was enjoy my life with Susan. Who always wanted to be a teacher and eventually became a teacher. And she always wanted me to give up smoking, which I never have done, having smoked since I was 12 years old. And I used to go fishing with a boy called Peter. Fishing for bigger fish, not sticklebacks, with a rod. But you know, I hadn't got a clue. Even at 23, I hadn't got a clue. It was only when I was about 28 to perhaps 33 that I realised something was very, very wrong with the world that I was living on. But if I said anything to anybody, they'd think that I was a lunatic. I just, you know, I was outside of their evolution. And it's an evolution of the mind to realise that the world that you're living in isn't right. And that has to be my hope now that I'm 63 years old, that almost 64, that the youth, you know, the young kids of the planet, as far as I'm concerned, anyone below 35 is a kid, I think. So it's your future, no matter how old you are. The realisation that this world is not right, and that the system is just a system, it's just a way of doing things. And that way is not proving beneficial to the whole of humanity, that you realise, well, it's only a system with rules and regulations. Let's change those rules and regulations to the way we want it to be. The people, you know, the youth of the planet. It's your future. It's not my future. I mean, I'd like to get to 100, but I don't think I'm going to do it. I'd love to see this system changed, because it's sick. Any system that wants to have conflict in that system and call it legal conflict. You know, what the hell is legal about conflict? There can be nothing legal about conflict in any evolved mind. And conflict, as I've said before on other videos, is competition. Humanity can no longer sustain itself in a system where competition is the driving factor. Humanity isn't in a race. you know, to have the best region. It should be in cooperation for the whole planet to be the best it can possibly be. In the technological knowledge that we have in the 21st century. And the system actually prevents us from attaining the best that humanity can be. And it prevents it because of lack of funding. Because of a capitalist system which is rooted in conflict. And competition. I'm hoping that the children of the world will evolve out of this concept of conflict, but it's taught to you in schools to compete with each other, to be the best you can be educationally in your class. Well, you know, that's the way it was when I was a kid anyway. You know, it was a competition to see who was the best in the class. And if you were the best in the class, you usually got put up a class. But anyway, that's the past, isn't it? We have to look to the future. And when you think about education in the future, it's not going to be about conflict. It's just going to be about learning. And it won't be about learning competition. You're taught that bullying is wrong. But as you grow older and older, you see that bullying is entrenched. It is the system. The system bullies everybody within the system. But everybody within the system has become that accustomed to being bullied by the system that they've grown up in that they don't do anything about it. They just comply. And it's not Cameron's fault and Obama's fault that they're the way they are. It's just that's what they've learnt within the system. They've learnt to behave the way that they do. And that's, if they realise what they're doing, they're worse than Hitler, worse than Stalin, because they are complicit in the deaths of millions every year because of them perpetuating a system, a way of doing things that is harming people. So by the time I got to 33, I realised that something was badly wrong with the system, and something happened that made me start believing in Jesus. And it's just that I suppose, cutting a long story short, a miracle happened. Some big girl that I asked Jesus to heal was healed on the spot. Now, nothing has really happened since then. And I looked at the history of sort of Christianity, and that led me to, thinking about other faiths as well. But none sort of clung to me more strongly than believing in Jesus. But I don't see any reason why I need to go into that part of my life really with you anyway. It's between me and whoever, whatever created me, gave me consciousness. And consciousness grows. Being aware of yourself grows with the more knowledge that you get, that you obtain, that you search out for. The future is yours to plan. And you can't plan the future without knowing the technologies that are available to you. And there are, as we know, or are led to believe, technology is probably 50 years, secret technology is probably 50 years ahead of public technology. We're kept in the dark because business, competition, has to make something called profit. In order to sustain itself, to pay for itself. This monetary system is just a merry-go-round. As I said in the last video I did, the Christmas one, which is a message for all seasons. We have to learn to share, because in sharing the resources of the planet and managing the resources of the planet without a need for profit is an evolution of the mind. And once you've had the evolution of the mind, realizing that we're squandering the resources of the planet, and the global leaders that we have at the moment are condoning that squandering of resources, plus damage to the environment that you are going to inherit. They're not leaving a better future for you, really, are they? They're not leaving a better future for their own children. All that the children are going to have is money, which most of you lot out there in the planet, on the planet, aren't going to have at all. So, are these people selfish? Are they taught to be selfish and offer the illusion of being nice, dancing, throwing an invisible basketball, smiling, wearing sunglasses, posing in front of the mirror. In a few years' time, some of you won't even know what I'm talking about, will you? What a world you are living in. What a world you're going to inherit. Abra, Dabra. Gonna reach out and grab ya. I only wish.